Mass Effect 2 came out in 2010 and it's magnum opus of the Bioware company according to many. I have heard about the epic story, how cool the battle of Shepard and his team against the Collector was shown, how good the sequel was that the company could replicate its quality again. Before we get into the Thali discussion, I want to briefly mention the first part. And it's good, and it's clear what was invented for, namely in the staging of cutscenes, because the game still looks good because of the fact that here full-fledged cutscenes, because other RPG like New Vegas cannot boast of this. But there was more emphasis on the role-playing component. When Mass Effect options are more limited, just sometimes you make choices that can affect the fate of certain companions, as well can affect whether this part of the people will die or not, but cannot affect the plot. Globally you can change something. The game is also known for the quality of companions, and it's really true. All of them have different characters, their own stories, but no one has his own quest except Garrus, Thali and Rex. Played I only mission Garrus, executed quite average, so interesting run set up about his enemy, and somehow everything quickly and underwhelmed ended. In general, my favorites are Lair and Garrus. Now let's talk about what I didn't like. It's that the shooting here felt mostly boring, because the impact wasn't felt. Save only that the abilities were interesting, because of them the battle didn't turn into full-fledged gloom, shooting at the end becomes more monotonous, and new abilities don't appear. Now let's return to the second part and start with the first impressions, the first hours. So the game starts with the fact that Shepard's team flies on a mission and suddenly someone shoots them down and the ship starts to crash. Everyone is saved, but unfortunately the main character cannot be saved and he dies. Then he is picked by an organization Cerberus, which by the way many people in this world do not like because the methods are very radical. So he is revived, the base Cerberus hacked. We fight back, then we meet with the leader of this organization. From him we learn that colonies of people are kidnapped and who died and we have to resist, and also who kidnapped work under the mega strong enemy called Reapers. And then the structure of the game will be like this: we will hire companions to help us fight against the great evil, and also will perform personal missions of companions. I begin to really like the game when I arrived at the Omega location, where refugees, bandits and another dudes hang out. And this location has cool atmosphere, because there is club, party, but also near this place some races barely survive, everything is gloomy, and the quests here weren't so exciting. They also introduced new mechanics associated with Paragon or Ranger style. Now you will need to make a quick decision whether to make an action like this present or not. For example, on Omega when you go to hunt one Archangel, a very young guy will want to sign up as a mercenary, and you can press a button and then Shepard will convince him not to go. And if you don't press anything, then this young guy will sign up for the mission and most likely die. Overall, I like that they added this. It adds more interest and it's more fun when you have to make a quick decision. Also, they improved gameplay compared to the first part. The core is the same as in the first part, but there are changes, improvements. For example, they removed the annoying missions on transportation, called Mako. It was so bad in the first part. Such a clumsy control. True, there was something in return, but we'll talk about later, when it comes to DLC content. Progression system became a little different. For points, it became possible to pop on the abilities. For example, since my protagonist has a class of soldier, he has such abilities, such as how to make bullets fire so that enemies burn from hits. It was in the first part, but then you had to choose what type of bullets separately for each weapon, but here made in the form of ability, now it became much more convenient. You will know how I was lazy to customize the type of bullets in the first part. It was just tedious. It's also worth noting that now you cannot upgrade weapons or armor at expensive points. You now need to collect resources on different planets. There are 4 types of resources. The first is the element 0, used for biotic and engineering upgrades. Iridium is used to upgrade assault rifles, submachine guns, and heavy weapons. Palladium is used to upgrade cybernetics, shields, heavy pistols, and armor. Platinum is used to upgrade shotguns, sniper rifles, and medical equipment. And to get them, you just need one click to collect, and it's not super interesting, but it's less annoying than driving this junk Mako and collecting resources. It saves a lot of time and you are not so boring. Also, there's variety of weapons, armor, and enemies. About firearms, there's, for example, a cool assault rifle from the collectors. Mechanically, they're no different from simple assault rifle, but how cool it looks. There's also a whole new type of weapon, namely heavy weapons. For example, grenade launcher or cannon that freezes opponents, or ray gun which sizzles opponents, or in general my favorite, a cannon that shoots a beam that makes a nuclear boom. As in second part has become a variety of opponents. Now there are robot dogs, big transformers, many different creatures, also different factions of bandits. And also, if I am correct, in the first part enemies not begin limp from hits as it was in second part. Here the wheel of dialogues remains the same and it's not need to change, if it all work well. And also I wanna note, AI companions become better, it really feels that they somehow can help to fight, not just a decoration. Well, now there is no stupid things from them, like in first part, freezing and don't move. The plot, I honestly don't even know how to tell you about it. I was just shocked that it was so short. Literally for 6 hours somewhere, if you don't take into account the recruitment of companions and fulfillment of their personal missions. Companions' quests, of course, are cool, and here they're interesting, but I don't think that 80% of the game will be their fulfillment. Yes, there are still side quests, but straight good, not just kill and bring, not so much here. I'm just personally used it in other RPG despite the main quest is not super big, but there you not only play missions with companions, but a lot of other interesting activities, exploring the world, accomplishing missions of factions, settlements. Okay, now let's get back to main plot. It's simple, we have an enemy, they genocide people and we need to destroy them. For that most stronger enemy doesn't come. Yes, it's very simple but it works. I basically enjoyed this pathos and there was an interesting revelation that the collectors are essentially modified proteins, essentially became slaves of the Reapers. Also, the ending was really good, that kind of tension with the fact that it's a suicide mission and that everyone can die. I had Kasumi die during the flight, and honestly by her I don't feel sorry, because her mission was so weak reveal for me, but we'll talk about it later. When it comes to the companions in general. I also had Solos died. That was sad. You think that everything is there to admire the ending and has the tension and epic, but I was disappointed that everything ended so quickly. In fact, the sequel is such a setup for the upcoming battle against the Reapers for the third part. I honestly thought that here somehow the other planets states will be more involved in the story, but in the end it was a battle in solo with gang against the collectors, and I understand why everything is so, because everyone else didn't believe in the Reapers especially and didn't want to act in any way. I'd also like to say that I liked the ending in the first part better, because there was a lot of intrigue with what happened in the past and who could become a dangerous enemy for the universe. And the villain Siren was good. Anyway, that's how I like the main plot. Now let's talk about the companions, and this is the most time spent on it. First, I would like to talk about how they are made functionally, mechanically, and then I will talk about the characters themselves and their story. There are 12 sidekicks in total, twice as many as there were in the first part, but the team with you can still be only 2 fellows. There are fewer partner abilities, in the first part was a maximum of 6, in the second part is a maximum of 3, and almost entire game basically will be available only 2. The third will open when you pass the personal mission. Of course, that reduce is bad, but honestly to me its gameplay process didn't become worse in any way, because it's compensated by the addition of new types of enemies and new heavy guns for Shepard. But what is better in the second part is that companions stopped standing in the place as it was in the first part. What upset me that the companions between themselves don't talk at all. Here at all, not a bit. After modern RPG, it seems very critical, sorry. Also, companions barely interact in conversation with other NPC during the main and additional quests, only fully participate understandably in their personal missions. In principle, I can forgive this, because such feature observed only in the last game's Obsidian, for example. Okay, let me start telling my impression of each companion and their loyalty mission. Let's start with Jacob. Jacob Taylor is a human biotic, former Alliance Marine. He retired after surviving the gas attack on Eden Prime and joined Cerberus. Honestly, the most boring companion of the all. It's hard for me to even describe him. Well, a military man, well, a human. There is nothing interesting to say about him, a pale character. I can say that knowing the dark deeds of Cerberus still serves them, probably so traumatized by the event in Prime, and not only that you want to save humanity despite the methods of whom you serve. But here is the curious paradox. Jacob's mission is quite interesting, but the funny thing is that this quest is not about him at all, and does not reveal and develop him in any way. At one point, when Shepard talks to Jacob after Horizon, he tells him that he received a disturbing message through Cerberus channels. His father, Ronald Taylor, disappeared 10 years ago along with the starship he served on, the MC Hugo Hatchback. But now, a distant signal from the Hugo Hatchback has been detected from a planet in the Alpha Draconis system. Jacob, unsurprisingly, is eager to investigate and find out if his father is alive. So we arrive at our destination, which is Island. We meet a girl and say that the leader promises Zaeed will be taken to the heaven. Then we are attacked by some hunters, we fight back, then we meet a peaceful camp and notice that they are all girls. My first reaction is, what? Do you think he's the Turkish Sultan and collect a harem? That's the strange thing that happened on this island. Then we meet a woman and she gives us a report on how it all started. Basically, the Jacob's father, under pretense of fixing the beacon to send a rescue signal, started giving only himself and a couple of officers food supplies, and made everyone else eat toxic garbage. No wonder everyone hissed crying mentally. He also started kicking out the men and leaving only the women. Anyway, Ronald's an asshole. Then we find him and he thinks we're here to save him, but sorry dude, you screwed. And then we have options how to deal with him. Send him to jail, or leave the vigilantes to decide his fate, or make him kill himself. I personally choose the first option. Death is too easy for him. In general, this mission interestingly shows how a man can use a tragic situation to his advantage. Now let's move on to Miranda, and she has one of the best missions in the game. Why? Because the first character I got into in the second part was Miranda. Anyway, during the mission, Miranda asks Shepard to help her deal with a personal crisis and admit that she has a twin, Oriana, created as a part of her father's planned dynasty. Miranda explains that she joined Cerberus to hide and protect Oriana as well as herself. While the father stopped searching for Miranda, he never stopped searching for Oriana. With the help of Cerberus, Miranda was able to create a new life for Oriana on Ilium. where she lives the normal life her father would have denied her. Unfortunately, Miranda received a message from a contact claiming that their father had finally located Oriana and would attempt to kidnap her. Cerberus has arranged for Oriana's relocation and Miranda wants to go to make sure nothing happens. Miranda is also helped by a friend to relocate her sister, and the twist in this mission is that Miranda's friend kidnapped Oriana and wanted to return to her real father because he found out that Miranda kidnapped her when she was a baby. Miranda was shocked that he betrayed her and wanted to shoot him, but I didn't let shoot. But the Eclipse mercenaries who were helping Miranda's friend Niket shot him anyway. Whereas Oriana and Miranda went to talk to her for the first time. I quite like this mission in that we've seen her very cold before, but here we saw her selflessly trying to break free from her father's control and save her sister. And Oriana represents Miranda's attempt to create life free from control she was subject to, symbolizing hope and redemption. Well, who doesn't get touched when you see a tear flowing down a face that we're used to seeing cold? Zaeed, the character himself looks good as we see a version of the renegade shepherd, but only his mission is a failure to me. His mission is that he has to get revenge on a dude from the Blue Suns mercenary faction. Then it turned out that Zaeed is one of the founders of this faction and that Widow almost killed him because of disagreement about whether to allow the Batarians to join. Widow considered them cheaper labor force and Zaeed considered them terrorists. Anyway, trying to get to him, we had a dilemma whether to help people survive who might die because of Zaeed's vengeful actions, or to chase after Widow. I chose the first, and unfortunately because of this we were not able to catch up with Widow and he left on aeroplane. I understand that here is quite interesting also the overused theme of whether revenge in the end can please and find peace after that, but unfortunately this mission is so short that I have not impressed by Zaeed in any way, and frankly his behavior made me cringe sometimes. Kasumi Goto, gameplay-wise the mission is unique, and there is no other mission like it. What's the point? Kasumi asks us to participate in the robbery of one object, namely a mysterious grey box. Shepard under disguise infiltrates the estate for Dominant's party, who has what we need in his vault. But alas, there is the only thing I like about it, because the reveal of what inside didn't surprise me at all. After all, there was a material that she loved one person, a reminder of who died, sounds tragic, but honestly I was so indifferent to her that this disclosure didn't catch me at all. And I think it's the fault how they represent how much time they spend in general. On the main companions somehow allocated more time and companions from DLC somehow showed limited. Yes, and just no context we have about the man she loved and what generally happened on that mission, so my reaction is just okay. Garrus Vakarian. Everyone knows that the Mass Effect fandom is wildly in love with this character, but I'll be honest. In the first part, he was just good. He has great voice acting, he has great design, but just normal, probably so plays sublime love about him. But in the second part, he became much more interesting. A lot of things happened to him for 2 years of our absence. He became a deadly threat to the gangs of Omega and the most famous factions of mercenaries soldiers like him that united to hunt Garrus. Garrus will also tell us that during the extermination of the Underworld, he gathered his team, but unfortunately one of his sub-parties betrayed him, namely the Turian Sidonis, and except for Garrus and the traitor, there is no one left alive. So a friend asks to find Sidonis and take revenge. And in this mission we see how our partner is not what he used to be. Now we see a black-net guy who is widely known with guilt for just surviving. Anyway, this quest has bumped up the development of this companion so well, and now I'm curious to see what happens next. I also like the chemistry between him and Shepard, they're just something special. It feels like they're friends, not just subordinate and commander. And that's why it works well when we are shown an expected meeting between them. It's always warm to meet your friend. Grunt. He is an artificially bred Krogan. Basically, I like him. He just wants to fight against the powerful, and so he joined us in the hope that our opponents would be powerful. And his personal quest was that he began to boy and we flew to Tuchanka to understand how to cure him and understand what is happening to him. And when we arrived, we talked to the leader of the Krogan, and this is our dude Rex for a minute. This is our dude. So we find out that Grant's going through puberty and he has to go through rite of passage. And it's clear that in this rite of passage Grant has to defeat a lot of monsters and stand up to a huge boss. In general, I honestly don't have much to say about this quest, except that it's cool to see Rex and what became of him, and also that the interactions between the Krogan were funny, and also good to see the attitude to people like Grant, that is, those who were raised artificially, not naturally. Mordin Souls, the first impression I had of this character was that he was a raper. That's how fast he talks. And if not joke, he just makes impression of scientist who is wildly preoccupied with his work. But after his personal quest, I began to respect him more and even a little touch with him. So here's his personal quest. He asked us to find his student Melon, and souls believe that he was kidnapped to Tuchanka, the native land of the Krogan. Later we learn from a scout that the apprentice has been captured by the Ware clan and is being held in the hospital turned fortress. Souls and Shepard fight at the Ware base and soon learn that the clan needs Melon's work to create a cure for the genophage and conquer the galaxy. This entails brutal experiment on the kidnapped humans. On the test subject turns out to be a Krogan woman who voluntarily underwent the test in hopes of becoming fertile. Her corpse is found by Mordin in the lab and serves as a grim reminder of the lives he destroyed during the genophage modification project. And then out of the blue, Mordin sympathizes with her and didn't want there to be such a reaction to the genophage. Later we find that the apprentice is still alive and helping the Krogans find a cure, country of the guild. And Mordin is angry the apprentice is killed for such cruel experiments. So for a good purpose, later we have a hard, interesting choice to make, whether to keep the data about the cure or not. After all, on the one hand, to limit the population of a race is not human, but on the other hand, the fear that this race can to build terrible wars makes us realize that genophage is quite logical. I personally say for the future, but I don't know how I will do in the part 3. And in general, Souls came out a great character. On the one hand, he understands logically that the genophage is justified, but on the other hand, he is more hard because of the consequences of the genophage. Samara. Honestly, she is more interesting in terms of lore than as a character. After all, she almost a 1,000-year-old Asari Rastikar, a member of an ancient monastic order that abides by a strict code of honor. And it is in the second part that we learn about this for the first time. Samara, on the other hand, is just a cold, colorless warrior. Her mission was to stop her daughter from killing innocent people. In general, it's cool that in this quest there are no shootings at all and we just walk around, investigate and try to stop the criminal. And when the moment of climax came, we had a choice to kill Samara or her daughter. And this choice wasn't hard because I like both characters so much, but because I wasn't interested in anyone, and I chose our current partner purely on the logic that I know her more than her daughter. The only thing I remember in this quest is Shepard didn't let himself be glamorized and show who is the boss.
Look into my eyes and tell me you want me. Tell me you'd kill for me. Anything I want.
Don't count on it.
But you... Who are...
Jack. The first appearance of the character came out spectacular. The future teammate was imprisoned in a prison where they were put in for money and then someone could buy them out. This is such slavery under the battle of justice and guardianship of order from dangerous people. And was unexpected because Jack turned out to be a girl with some pretty cool bio powers, but her personal quest personally didn't really hit me. Her mission was to blow up a facility that was conducting scientific experiments on her. And having arrived there, we learned that she is not the only victim, and she was more pitied than other children because she is the most valuable test subject. Then we meet a survivor named Aresh in her room, and he tells us that he and others attacked the guards, the scientists. They would have been tied up, but Jack went crazy and almost everyone died except her and Aresh. Jack doesn't believe all that much, and in general you can understand her, that how hard was her childhood, that you don't want to believe that someone was worse and not only she is a victim. But that's what pissed me off about her so far, that she's the only one who could be a victim. But maybe in the sequel she'll outgrow her past and become a better person. But whether that will be the case, we'll see in the future. Thane. This is the mercenary who kills not only bad people. For example, when we first met him, he was hunting Nathan Dauntis, who was engaged in piracy and slavery. Our companion's trick is that at random moments he starts to tell with faces from the third person what happened to him. Okay, now I'll start telling you about his loyal mission. At one point he asked us to help find his son. The thing is that because of his activities killed his wife, and he went on these years to avenge, and his son Kolyat followed in his footsteps. So Thane wants to stop him. Also, this mission is unique in that there is no action at all, and there is a tracking mission involved. The game also gives you the opportunity to play bad cop and good cop, which was a hell of a lot of fun. And when we manage to stop him from killing, Thane and Kolyat have a heart-to-heart. And depending on your choice, Kolyat will either go to jail or get off with a light punishment. It's not the only quest that explores a parent's relationship with their child, but it's better than Samara quest, if you ask me. Probably because Thane seems more alive than Samara. Thali, her quest was that she was accused of treason and summoned to court. So when we arrived, we found out that Garrus was sent to the flotilla and everyone died there, including her father. Thali still had hoped that her father might be alive, so we went to the ship to find answers to what really happened. Then we learned that her father was guilty and that he wanted to start a war against the Garrus for the sake of the promise he made to Thali that they would get their home planet back again. Further, Thali arrives at the continuation of the trial, and Shepard decides to tell the truth or not to tell and justify her. In general, here comes the choice of realize the crowd, and this choice appears thanks to the fact that we at the beginning of the game didn't give Vitor to Cerberus, but Thali. I honestly, for the first time, I see that in this game, the choice from the main quest somehow could affect the annual loyal mission. In general, I like her quest because we were shown more how the politics of the Quarren race works, that there are Quarren people who are set up for the gas war and those who are against it. Legion. This partner we meet almost at the end of the game. He is unusual because he is a gas and also talks and also friendly. From him we learned that not everyone worships old machines and that only Erectis, as they called them. After a while, the Legion informed Shepard that the gas are actually indifferent to organics. These gas who fight organics are heretics following the Reapers, or as the gas called them, the old machines. Legion explained that heretics are developing a virus that will turn all gas into followers of the Reapers, and asked Shepard to travel to the old, heretic-held Quarren space station to destroy the virus that threatens the peaceful gas. Later, the Legion learns that the virus may have another purpose, to rewrite the hostile heretics to peacefully join the gas. In general, honestly, for me this mission is just lore interesting, nothing crazy. There are no moments that I was touched. And also, I forgot to tell you that when you finish the mission of Thali and Legion, they will have a conflict on the ship and you will have to reconcile them or become on someone's side. It was the same with Jack and Miranda. That's what I liked. I said that these were the only interactions between the teammates. In general, I really like communication between each other, as to me it is an important part of the party RPG. Choices and consequences, that's a very important part of some RPGs, and Mass Effect is just the case. And here it is done both good and bad. Let me explain why. Let's start with the positive. Mass Effect sequel gives you the ability to import choices from the previous installment, and as far as I am concerned, it's the first game that ever let you do that. Because of this, it seems to you that the choices are very influential and that everyone will have their own scenes because of the decisions made earlier. And that's basically true, but the impact is pretty localized. For example, because I didn't kill Rex in the first part, I met him in the second part. And yes, there is a real special feeling when you didn't kill him and saw the continuation of the development of this character. But also lies the disadvantage of the system in the fact that in essence you have two options that will be with this character. He's either alive in the second part or dead. That is quite scripted moment which somehow doesn't solve anything globally. As for me, it would be better if there was a lot of scenarios what happened to this character, not just alive or dead. A huge disadvantage for me is the choice and consequences, as I mentioned earlier, that you have no way to influence the main plot except who survives, who dies. Maybe if Mass Effect 2 was the first RPG game, then for me it was no problem at all and would have been thrilled with the final mission, but I have experience from other RPGs like New Vegas, where there are 4 choices for who to finish the main storyline, when in Mass Effect there is only one way. But here in the loyalty missions of companions you have a couple of options how to act, and to understand how it affects, you need to pass the third part. Now I want to tell you about the DLCs. Basically, I already told you about the 2 that gave missions for Zaeed and Kasumi. Now we're down to the 3, and I'll start with Overlord. The mission starts with Commander Shepard contacting Cerberus about a research center on the planet 8. The center, headed by Dr. Gavin Archer, is conducting experiments to merge human and gas technology. However, the experiment doesn't go as planned when a test subject, a human artificial intelligence hybrid named David, takes control of the facility's systems, causing chaos. Dr. Archer pleads with Shepard to stop David, who has tapped into the facility's AI network, spreading the overall program and threatening galactic stability. And here we are in the terms of gameplay, as usually having to shooting against the gas. But they also add a couple of elements, and one of them quite a bit maddening, and I'm talking about flying an aeroplane. It's literally Mako, only in the air, unbearably awkward controls. Remember, I praised that the second part removed Mako, but in the DLCs added something similar. Here the second element gameplay was more pleasant. A easy puzzle. In the end, most of the DLC is just a plain mission. The most interesting thing is the ending, and then I have a problem with it. The thing is that we learn that David turns out to be autistic and Volturi on this experimental control didn't agree and prayed to stop it, but unfortunately his brother didn't listen, and then under David's command the gates begin to build chaos. I didn't expect such a turn, but one thing I don't understand is why they couldn't control the gates before and only now and with help of IoTs is strange to me. Arrival, Commander Shepard is sent on a secret mission to rescue Dr. Amanda Kenson, a scientist captured by the Batarians while investigating the Reapers. Shepard learns of her research a massive asteroid equipped with thrusters is being used to destroy the Alpha Relay, a mass relay in Batarian space. Its destruction will slow the Reapers' advance, but will be disastrously high in cost as it will destroy the entire Batarian system, killing hundreds of the thousands of people. And when Shepard escapes with Amanda and arrives at the place where the relay is planned to be destroyed, he suddenly receives a betrayal from Amanda. because she actually worshipped the artifact and wildly wanted the Reapers to arrive. Honestly, it's cringe-worthy. That's her fascination with the Reapers and waiting for them, and if you want answers as to why, there won't be any. Basically, this DLC is not needed at all, except whether you destroy this relay in exchange for Battalion life or not. Lair of Shadows Broker, and the best DLC in the game. Why? Because the main character is Lara, the best character from the first part in my opinion. The plot goes like this: Shepard contacts Lara Tisoni on Ilum after learning that she is investigating the Shadow Broker. Lara tells that she is trying to find her friend Farron, who helped recover Shepard's body after his death at the beginning of Mass Effect 2. Now Farron is a prisoner of the Shadow Broker. That's the plot here, and further events develop very interesting. You get chases, as well as the reveal that the Council cooperates with Shadow Broker, as well as there are some good bosses, and the main thing is that Liara's development is pretty cool. She is no longer the naive girl from the first part. It's also cool that developers give you further develop the relationship with her. All in all, a very good addition, but unfortunately there's only one ending. Liara becomes a Shadow Broker, but you can't continue or end the relationship. Sadly, that's the end of it. Now let's summarize the results. The game came out good. Now shooting are much more interesting due to the addition of new cool guns and more variety of opponents. Also, here is now much better elaborated companion missions, but unfortunately the main plot is very short and doesn't cause me a lot of emotion. And with the choices and consequences here all very controversial. As me, if the companion quests were connected or would be the main plot much more, it will be better. If you like the video and want to do the same about the third part, then put likes and subscribe.